Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, and this is week 3 of the Awaken course. So I'm super excited to be here with you today. And I was sort of feeling into the energy before we hopped on, and it feels like there's a lot of different things moving through today, and also I can feel that. This class is going to be really potent for many of you because I believe that, last week we talked about boundaries, and I know boundaries was a big topic where several of you are already noticing just bringing the energy boundaries to our awareness. You started to notice it showing up in your day-to-day life, and I feel like what we're going to be talking about today, so clearing and managing your energy, is another one of those topics that is going to be really prevalent for most of you, and you might also notice it to show up in your day-to-day life, whether it be with your family, your friends, your clients, maybe your children. So I feel like this is going to be a really powerful call and class, and so I'm excited to drop in. And so with that being said, let's just take a few breaths and get here. So if you want to get comfortable wherever you are, just take a few deep breaths. So breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. With each breath, drawing your attention and your awareness into this moment, you can notice how you're feeling in your physical body. And if you're not sure where to even start with that, you can just start by noticing, like, how does it even feel to be sitting in your chair? So you can just notice, like, how does the chair feel? How does your bottom feel on the chair? And just kind of going up. So how does your hips feel? Your lower back? And we're not judging or trying to fix. We're just deepening our awareness. So just starting to notice. We're also training our subconscious to be able to notice and deepen our awareness. So not just of our physical self, but then also our energetic self. You can also notice how your breath is moving. Do you feel like you're able to breathe easily and deeply? Does it feel like you're breathing shallow? So just noticing. And then we can just start to check in with our grounding. So that was the first class we did, where we learned some tools to get grounded. So you can just notice, how are you feeling in relationship to your grounding today, in this moment? Is there any adjustments that you can make? So maybe it's finding your grounding cord, pulling yourself closer to the earth. Maybe it's sinking your roots a little bit deeper. Another easy way that I like to ground sometimes is simply just imagining my bubble and tucking the bottom underneath the earth. So rather than the bottom of your bubble just going under your feet, you can imagine it tucking it under the earth. Beautiful. And you can also start to notice where your bubble is today. So just noticing your edges. If there's any tending that you need to do. So if you need to fill in any edges, you can do that. Sometimes I like to imagine having a golden mist that I could just simply spray on the edges of my bubble, and it just, magically does what it needs to do. So it can create more of a structure, it can fill in the space. So you can play around with that. Yeah, and then just take a few breaths here, noticing how you feel. Just arriving into this moment. And then also calling forth any intentions that you have for today. What is it that you desire? What would you like to receive from this call? Just allowing that to come to your awareness. And then you can just take one more breath, slowly coming back to your body. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So welcome once again. When I was just kind of grounding and preparing for today's call, I felt guided to pull some cards and just pull a few cards and see where the energy is and what's wanting to come forward for the group. So I did, and the first card that came forward, I'll post a picture of them in the group so that you can see, is death. And this card is about endings, and it comes forward when there's like a phase in our life, or there's patterns or subconscious beliefs that we're ready to let go of. And so the death card is like symbolic of all of you being at the ending of a cycle. And so even just the past couple of weeks, the tools that you're learning and the insight that you're receiving, you're awakening to a new state of consciousness, and these old parts of you are ready to be cleared out, which is actually perfect for today's class, since we're going to be talking about clearing your energy and managing your energy. So the death card came up, and then the second card that came up is the green woman. And she is one of my favorite cards. She comes up almost every time I teach something. I used to be so afraid of her. Literally, when I would see her card, it kind of scared me. And I've found this deep level of really just appreciation for her over the years of working with her energy. And her card symbolizes wildness, natural magic, expected gratitude, and creativity. And I just want to read a little bit from her card to you, because I absolutely love this book, the card deck that I have. I love the way that the the author has written this, and so I just want to read it to you. The green woman dances naked in the moonlight and the sunlight and the shadows as well. She doesn't care what you think of her. She knows her own worth from her experience of life. She is the feminine, vital, vegetative force that enables root to crack stone and the reed to bend wind and the oak to stand against the storm. So basically, the green woman is that place in us that when we return back to that place, that the center of ourself, the center of our knowing, the center of our creativity, when we return back to that place, it's like just by being, your roots are able to crack stones. The wind is able to bend the reeds. And that is the power of being in alignment. And that is the power of the work that we're doing here in this program. So as you are learning to, what we're going to be talking about today is like, as you're learning to start to identify and clear out energy that is not yours. So maybe some of it is yours. Maybe some of it is old beliefs, old thoughts, old emotions. And then also, the stuff that isn't yours. So whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's clients, as you're learning to clear that out, it allows you to connect back to this place in yourself of knowing yourself so deeply and being so tapped into that creative force that just by being, you're able to move a ton of energy, and call a ton of energy into, so magical results, right? Just by being, then you can cultivate magical results in your business. And that's the power of this work. And so the green woman came forward for this group. And then the last card that came forward is the fairies of the future. And this card is about being here, being now, being present in the moment. And there's a way that we can start to get antsy and to maybe like want to do something, or like we want results to happen really fast. And, this card is saying that, it's really important to be in the present. And also, there is a time for action. So being clear on your goals and taking action towards them. So doing whatever you need to do in this moment, but not getting too ahead of yourself. So really connecting back to this moment. And as you learn to do this, what happens is, again, you are reconnecting to those places and those pieces inside of you that really allow you to deepen your success with much more ease. So rather than having to push, rather than having to strive in your business, you're able to stay in the center of your creation and really enjoy your creation as it's being created and as it's happening and as all of the things are unfolding around you. So that is the magic of this work and what we are going to continue to dive into over the next couple of weeks. So before we dive into today's class, I just want to check in and see if anyone has any questions from last week or any of the previous weeks so far. So if so, you can raise your hand, or you can also just type in the chat box. Either way works. Okay, so we will keep going. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to be talking all about clearing and managing your energy. So again, when we're talking about clearing your energy, this is any of your personal energy blocks, and then also any energy that might not be yours that you are holding on to. So just like any of these lessons, it takes practice. So if you feel like you're not getting it at first, like, don't give up, because it takes practice. Working with energy, whether it's your own energy or someone else's energy, it's like building a muscle. You know, it's similar to mindset work. Like, it's something that you have to practice and continuously practice. It's not just gonna magically, you know, be perfect. So I'm pretty certain probably most of you struggle with having other people's energy in your space, or being affected by other people's energy. That's probably one of the things that drew you to this class, into this program, because you wanted to understand your sensitivity and learn how to start managing it. And so in our first class, we talked about grounding. So we talked about really grounding your own energy and starting to deepen your awareness of, like, also what it feels like to be grounded, so you can start to determine the difference. Then last class, we talked about energy boundaries, where, you know, creating that container for yourself so that you could have a protection. So today's class basically is building on those two. You need a container for yourself to be able to clear out energy that isn't yours. Because if you don't have the container, what happens is the energy that isn't yours just comes back into your space. It's going to be hard to get rid of it if you don't have energy boundaries. So, and if you really struggle with energy boundaries, this class is going to be important for you too, because they kind of go hand in hand, especially the tool that we're going to talk about, managing your energy. So just know that all these tools are working together, and they're going to be used. They're going to be used together as well. So whenever we talk about energy blocks, basically any energy that we have been mentioning throughout this class. So it can be physical, food, substances, mental, our thoughts, beliefs, mindset, emotional. So anytime you have emotions, environmental, which that's where if you are in an environment with people that might have negative beliefs, or maybe just a negative attitude, or it could be like just a big energy, right? So like if you're in the online space, it can be easy to start to feel all of the energy around you. Spiritual energy. So ignoring our intuition can also be energy block. Ancestral. So this would be like if you are holding on to energy from your parents, your grandparents, and this can be really, really big, especially when you are growing a business or starting to take these big steps forward in your life to do things a different way. I know for me, I personally, I thought that my money story was about thinking that I needed to do more, right? Like I always felt like I needed to do, to give more or to deliver more to be able to receive money. And what I actually realized when I started to really work the energetic layers of it is that wasn't even my energy of like feeling never enough. That was my mom's energy. And so when I realized that and I was able to let go of it, it freed up so much energy and so much space for me that I started to make more money in my business. And so when we're holding on to stuff that isn't ours, it's sort of like my energy teacher, one of my mentors, the example she gave, which I really love, is like if you ate a Thanksgiving meal and then you're trying to go for a jog, like you're gonna feel really heavy, you're gonna feel really bloated, your stomach's gonna maybe hurt. It's not gonna feel that easy or that inviting, right? And so when we're holding on to other people's energy, whether again it just be from the online space or it be these deeper connections of like ancestral stuff, it can feel really heavy in our physical body, also in our mind, right? You might have the nagging thoughts or emotions that keep coming up, and what it is because it's like this energy is stagnant, and it's sort of like a swampy environment. And also if you think about having a container full of that, right, you don't have a lot of space to bring in more things. So if you're trying to bring in abundance or you're trying to bring in more clients and your container's already stuffed with energy that isn't yours, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to fit in more. So just like eating a meal, if you're already full, it's hard to continue to eat and eat more. So that's kind of why this is so important, to be able to, manage your energy and clear it out. And I see this happen too. So it's not just with new entrepreneurs, it's also with people who are growing their business, and they might be at a place where they're working with clients and they're ready to expand, and they're having a really hard time expanding. And what happens is sometimes we're holding our clients so close, or we're holding on to all this energy that isn't really ours, that then it becomes really hard to expand to the next level. So no matter where you are in your life and business, this is still something that's really, really important. We can also have karmic energy blocks, and this is like past life stuff. And so I'm not really going to go into that too much, but we can have cycles where if it's something that we've been in a pattern for lifetimes, then it can continue to come forward, and it can affect the way that our business is operating or the way that things are happening in this current life. So when our energy is congested with energy that isn't ours, what happens is it can affect our physical body. So you might feel tired, you might have physical pain, and you might not understand why. So for me, I've shared a little bit of my story throughout this class. And when I started to get sick at, really 13 years old, and then all throughout my 20s until like my mid-20s, I had no idea, why I was really struggling with all these health issues. And I really felt like something was wrong with me. And the more I learned about energy, the more I realized how sensitive I was, and I was holding on to all of this energy that wasn't necessarily mine. And so it can affect your physical body. And I think we had someone in the group post, I don't know if it might have just been from the grounding exercise. She realized that some pain and inflammation was going down tremendously for her. And so, that's another example of where you could be feeling energy around you and it's showing up in your physical body. It can affect your thoughts. So you might find yourself thinking about someone or their problem. So this happens a lot of times. This can happen, with you and your clients. So if you have a session with someone and you keep thinking about them, or maybe worrying about them, and you're thinking about what they're doing or what they're not doing, or maybe even thinking like, oh my God, I should have helped her more. Did I help her? Like, if that's happening, more than likely you have either some of her energy in your space, or you have left some energy with her. And this could also be, children or husband. Any of those things can be interchangeable, when we're talking about a person. But if that's happening, if you find yourself thinking or worrying about someone, more than likely there's an energy attachment. The same with emotions. So if you are feeling really overwhelmed or really emotional and you have no idea why, it could be because you have somebody's energy in your space. This especially can happen if you are going to like an in-person event, or maybe if you are spending time with a friend or a group of friends, and then you go home and you notice yourself feeling really emotional. It could be because you took on some energy. Also, I was actually just talking with someone today, and she's preparing to launch something, and she has kind of been on the emotional roller coaster ride. And this is another perfect example of when you could be feeling other energy. So if you notice you keep getting ready to launch something, or maybe you even start the process of launching or putting out something new, and then you feel all of these emotions, or you feel worry, or you start having the money objections come up, like you're thinking, oh my God, like, are people going to think this is too much? Or you could be taking on other people's energy. And a lot of times the reason is because when we are feeling scared, or when we're feeling vulnerable, that's when we're more likely to open our energy boundaries. And the reason is because, like we talked about last time, our intuition is both, it is our superpower, right? But like most of the time we become intuitive because as a protection, to protect ourselves. So what happens is when you are feeling vulnerable, or you're feeling a little bit scared, you open your boundaries to be able to feel where other people are. And in that trying to feel where they are, you also start taking on their stuff. And so I just want to see if there's any questions around this, if it makes sense as well. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in the comments or raise your hand. Okay, so Petra asked, how do you let go of clients energetically whom you no longer work with? Fabulous question. So the exercises that we're going to do today in the energy practice actually will be great exercises to use. Personally, I like to use, like I do a ceremony. So when I am transitioning clients, because I used to really struggle with this, I would, when clients would phase out, it like felt like the energy was lingering, and then it was really hard for me to call in new clients because I still had this energy that was lingering. So in the early stages of my business, it was really challenging. What I do now is when I'm finishing with a client, or even if I'm finishing with a group program, so a class like this, what I do is I have a ceremony. And the way that I like to do my ceremony is sort of like a closure. So I really take some time to reflect. I like to journal about just whatever love I have for that client or for our time together, like really just cherishing our time together. And then I like to do something to release it. So whether it's tearing the paper, burning it, something that will energetically help release the energy. So that's what I like to do when I'm transitioning my clients, just to have a ceremony to be able to close out the energy. And I also, if it is a one-on-one client, I also often reflect to them, whether it's in an email or if it's on a call, what I really felt like we accomplished through our work together. So I kind of do it with my client too, so that we can close the process. Okay, so Karen asked, how do you keep your energy contained and still be open and empathic to others? Fabulous question. So when we're keeping our energy contained, it doesn't mean that we're not feeling other people. It just means that we're not holding their energy for them, or we're not taking their energy into our space. So you can still send love, you can still send compassion, but it's not mixing the energy together. So an example that I like to use is like peanut butter and chocolate, right? So if you have peanut butter and you have chocolate, like they're both great separate, right? And so what happens if you like put them together, there's going to be some peanut butter that ends up sticking on the chocolate and some chocolate that ends up sticking on the peanut butter. And then it's really hard to separate that, right? So when other people's energy comes into your space, it can get like that. So basically it's like the peanut butter and chocolate mixed together, and then you start to not exactly know, like, okay, is this mine or not? Or like if it's a desire, like it could be hard to really know what you're wanting because you have this other energy in your space that isn't you. Or two, what happens a lot of times is you can blame yourself for stuff that isn't yours, and it's actually this other energy that's just in your space. So that's really why we want to separate. It's not that we're not it's not that we can't feel love or compassion when we have the energy bubble. I don't know if that helps. Okay, so like I was saying, so when you have the energies mixed, it can feel cloudy and it's harder for you to trust yourself or for you to know clearly what you want and where you are. And so this is why it's really important to, have our energy clear. So for our business, what this means is it can be harder to make decisions. So you might find yourself wavering, second guessing. You might be pulled by your clients or your potential clients. You might have a hard time focusing or being present. Another example that I love giving is if you are washing dishes and washing the clothes and trying to take a shower, the water pressure is going to be low. And the same thing happens with our energy. Like, so if we're holding our clients and holding our husband and holding our kids, it's going to be harder for us to, you can still get results, but you're not going to be getting them to the max capacity because your energy isn't at its max capacity because it's in all of these different places. It can also affect your confidence and how you feel. So your value, you might question your value, you might question yourself because you have this other energy in your space. And so, this can also happen if you are going in the online space and you don't have the energetic boundaries, and then you see what everyone else is doing, and then you start to feel really confused about what you're doing or what you're wanting. This is another example. I used to do this. And then, when I would meditate and really get clear, I'm like, wait, yes, I do know what I'm doing and I do know what I want. But sometimes it would feel really confusing, and I felt like I would lose, touch to that place because I had all of this other stuff in my space. So, how do you clear this energy out? So, we started talking about this the past couple of weeks. So the first step is going to be to get grounded, because that's just going to allow you to start having your own anchor. So getting grounded is going to be the first step. And then starting to have the general awareness of your energy. So just like we've been doing, so each time you are coming to this class, you are building your awareness. So just starting to notice how you're feeling, noticing where your energy is when you are doing the meditations. All of that is starting to build your awareness. The third step is going to be energy boundaries. So we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the call. If you don't have the energy boundaries, then you can clear the energy out, but it doesn't have a line, to keep it out. So it can end up just coming back in. When you have the boundaries, then it lets you clear out the energy and keep it out. So what we're going to do is drop in and do some meditation to play with this in energy space. Any questions before we do that? Okay, perfect. So if you want to get comfortable wherever you are, and I invite you to take a few deep breaths, just coming into your body, coming into this moment. And starting to draw your attention in your awareness to your energy. So you can start by noticing your energy bubble, your aura. So just getting a feel for where it is right now, today. And so as you notice your aura, I invite you to start to look inside of it. And you can imagine any energy that isn't yours to start lighting up. You can imagine it a color or maybe an object or just however it wants to present itself to you. And you can also notice like what the edges of your aura look like. So for some of you, it feels like there might be like a muddiness or a murkiness around your aura. So you can notice that sometimes when we're holding on to energy that isn't ours, it can collect around the edges of our aura, as well as inside of our bubble, like a fogginess or a muddiness or objects. So just looking around and noticing. Yeah, and then well, as you notice it, so before we start to clear it out, just notice how you feel as you're noticing this energy. Because there's a way that like we can jump to just wanting to get rid of it or wanting to clear it out, but there's also a lot of knowledge and wisdom in noticing why it's there and noticing how we feel with it there. So you might notice like a heaviness, or some of you might feel anxious or sadness. Just noticing. Yeah, and then if there's a specific piece of energy or a specific spot that you want to just get curious, so see if you can actually go closer to it. So like if it looks like mud, like can you touch it? Just get curious about like, what is this? And if nothing's coming forward, just notice like the qualities, you know. Does it feel slimy? Does it feel sticky? Does it feel heavy? Also, where is it? Is it near your heart? Is it near your feet? Just building your awareness, noticing. And so then when you feel ready, you can choose to start clearing this out. And so there's a few different ways. So you can vacuum it out. So if it feels like it's something that's dust-like or object-like, you can use a vacuum. You can imagine having a golden sponge and like some water so you can scrub it if you need to, or like even have like a shower head that you can use to rinse the energy. Really, you can be creative in like any way that you can imagine cleaning something you can use to clean this energy. So if you're rinsing it, what I like to do is imagine having a drain at the bottom of my bubble where the energy can drain into the earth. So go ahead and just start cleaning up the inside of your bubble. You can ask the angels to help you and support you if you want. And as you're cleaning it, just noticing like how you're feeling. Again, there's so much awareness and there's so much wisdom in your feelings. So just noticing. And that also helps you stay present and to stay in your body when you connect to the feeling. And if you feel like it's being stubborn, so if you're scrubbing and you feel like it's not moving, or you're vacuuming and it's not moving, then instead of forcing it to move, I invite you just to sit with it and just get curious about how is this serving me, or what in me is needing this. And then if you notice like your emotion coming up, so if you notice like some anxiety or some fear or sadness, which is why it might be hard to let it go, see if you can you vacuum out that sadness and clear out that sadness that you have or the anxiety. And also, like, you can play around with, can you, maybe, you know, if it's really hard to let go of it, can you put it in its own bubble? So can you put this energy in a bubble that's inside of your bubble? Yeah, and notice just how even that creates a lot more space for you. Beautiful. And so then if you want to just imagine some gold, some golden energy. So you can imagine like being under a golden shower Or you can just rinse the outside of your bubble and also just start to rinse all of the inside of your bubble as well. So just clearing out anything that we moved and filling in the spaces. So any energy that you moved out today, just filling in those spaces with some gold. So gold is abundance. It helps transmute any negative energy. It's one of the highest vibrations. And then as you do that, just noticing how you feel. You can also notice like where your edges are, so where your bubble is. And then you can take a few breaths coming back to your body. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Beautiful. So I just want to see if anyone has any questions about this meditation. If anything came up that you feel unsure about, or so if you have a specific person, so if you have a specific person, so like if you were looking specifically at, am I holding on to past clients? Like you could use that intention before you go into this meditation. And then, so when you have the energy light up, you could say like any past clients that I'm still holding on to their energy, like let that light up. And so you could also work directly with that. So Karen said it's hard to let go of ancestors that have passed. So sometimes if it is someone that's really close to us, it can be challenging to let go of the energy. And usually it's because there's something in us that's attached to them. So sometimes it can feel like, oh my God, this person is in my space and I can't get them out. But anytime that happens, it's always because there's something in us that is holding on to their energy. So if your mom, do you want to talk, Karen? Like, do you want to talk live? Hi, I unmuted you. Are you there? I don't know. No, I can't hear you. Do you have mute on your phone, maybe? Or on your computer? Okay, so I'll leave you unmuted in case you figure it out, but I'm just talk to it. So if you notice that, okay, so you notice her energy and it's really challenging for you to move it out, I would just start getting really curious about it. So you can sit within yourself and ask, like, why is this challenging for me? And just notice, like, what comes forward, or what in me is afraid to let this go, and notice, like, what's coming forward for you. Or also, like, if you did let go of her energy, is there something that starts to come forward for you? So just starting to get really curious and build the awareness in yourself of the part of you that is maybe afraid to let go. So, okay, so you said that you had a hard time connecting with her when she was alive. So maybe finding the part of you, so like your inner child, or a time when it might have originated. And you could also ask that in the meditation, like, what is the part of me that's afraid to let this go? And you can ask that version of yourself to come forward. Because what happens a lot of times is, if, say, our 6-year-old self is attached to something like our parent, then it can be, if she's the one holding on, it can be hard for you to clear out the energy in this time and space. Or even like our teenage self, or any version of us, we have to go back and get that part of us on board to fully clear the energy, especially when it's dealing with like ancestral stuff. So I would just start, exploring that, and you can post in the group, and, I can support you there through it. This is also stuff that, if it's hard for you to do it by yourself, being held in a session would probably help. But the same thing with clients, or, our husband or anyone, like, if there's something that's really sticky and it's hard to move it, getting really curious about what in me is afraid. So even if it's like a client that maybe they're having a hard time, and then it's like you might even be really triggered by them, and yet their energy is like really in your space. Well, there might be a part of you that is afraid of not getting someone results, or afraid that if you're not holding them, maybe they won't get results, or maybe there's a part of you that really wants to support them, or something like that. And so when you see the piece in you, then you can work with that layer. And I think we talked about this last time, but I'll just say it again. One of the things that I love to do is tapping, but I do it around forgiveness. So specifically tapping on, like, so I'll use Karen as an example. So she could tap on, I forgive myself for having my mom's energy in my space. And so you could go through the entire tapping sequence on that. And what it does is it just creates a relaxation in your system, where just that in itself starts to ground you and starts to ground the energy. Any other questions, or anyone else experience anything with this this meditation that they want some support with? You can raise your hand or use the comments.
Hi, Lindsay. This is Carrie Ann.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my kids in the background. If it's too much noise, just let me know. I'm sorry, I just came in late on the call, just for the last couple of minutes. Take a second here. So I don't know, did you cover like ex-boyfriends or that kind of thing that we have trouble letting go of? I mean, so you just use the same type of tools, but don't know if there's anything specific to that.
Yeah, great question. So I would use the same tool. So if you logically know that like their energy is still affecting you, you could just go in specifically with that intention and then just look at okay, like where is this in my energy? And I mean, you're sort of like using your imagination, you know, to just see like what would work here. And so you're just trying things out. So like if you try to just so say it's like a big rock or something that's like, I had this come up for me in a meditation last week. So I had like this big rock that was on my heart. And so like if it was that kind of thing, like you could literally just start with, okay, can I move this rock? You know, like, can I try to push it off? And then it's like, okay, if that's not working, then like, what's another thing? So can I somehow dissolve it? Like if I created this magical dissolvent, like, could I dissolve it? And so usually that's what I like to start with, is just first just trying to be creative and see like, can I do something with this? And then if it's like still being really stubborn and you're having a hard time, then usually what you'll have to do is like actually sit with it and then figure out like what in me is attached to this. Because there might be like an emotion or you know, is there something that you wanted from that person? So this is a great question for Karen too. Like, is there something that you were wanting from them? Because sometimes we hold on to people's energy when we're really wanting something from them. Like we might be wanting to be seen, or we're wanting them to love us or to appreciate us or something. And so when you can figure out what that piece is in you, then it will give you more freedom to let go of the energy.
Okay. And I just read, this is very interesting, that when you let go of other people's energy, you're also empowering them, because like, I don't know, did you cover that already? Like, sorry if you've already covered, but I would be interested to hear just a little bit more about that, because he's still attached to me also. And so I just feel like we're probably tangled up in each other's energy because we have similar, you know, childhood wounds and that sort of thing. So I just found that interesting. If you could say a little bit more about how it empowers the other person to let go of.
Yeah, so we actually didn't do that yet.
Out, rather.
We didn't do that piece yet. So I can definitely speak more to that in a moment when we go over that. And then if you have questions,
okay,
more than happy to let you ask again.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, totally. So we all like function in different ways. So some of us are going to be afraid to be lonely. Some of us are going to be afraid of abandoning other people. And so we might hold their energy really close. Or you might feel like if you let go of the other person's energy, then, you know, they might not appreciate you, or they might feel abandoned by you. So just starting to notice like the feelings that are coming forward for you is just telling you a lot about your own system. And like even so, if the loneliness is coming forward, you could also tap on that, like doing forgiveness tapping around that as well. And so if you feel like it's a past life issue, if you are accustomed to doing past life work and you've done some of that for yourself before, you could just ask for the energy to show you. So just like I was mentioning to Karen, like she could ask the part of herself that is attached or like holding on to her mom to come forward. So you could ask the part of you that might be really afraid to be alone to come forward. And if you feel like it's a past life thing, you could ask for that past life version of yourself to come forward. And usually what I like to do is just get really curious. So just trying to get to know that part of myself and then see, like, you know, if that was a client, like how could I work with them? Or if that was a real child, like how would I, you know, get them to open up or get them to soften? Because usually it's like having a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding, a lot of patience. And so, you know, that's a little bit of an advanced tip, but that is how I would work with the energy. And again, like when it's stuff that's really close to you, it's going to be a lot more challenging to do it by yourself. Usually, you know, even for myself personally, that's whenever I usually get sessions with someone. Just because we can't see, you know, it's hard to fully see ourselves. And especially when our ego is really attached to something, it's hard to get our ego on board. So having fresh eyes or having someone, you know, be able to witness and support you can be really powerful. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to go on to when we have our energy in other people's space. But if you have any more questions about the first part, feel free to continue to ask them. Okay, so just like we could have other people's energy in our space, we can also have our energy in other people's space. And yeah, so this used to be something that I struggled with a lot, and I didn't even realize that it was really a thing for me because it wasn't something that was conscious. But like even in my relationship with my boyfriend, he would come home and he would be like, oh my God, your energy is just everywhere. And I was like, I don't understand what you mean. I just have a big energy, you know? And now I can totally look back and understand that it's because I didn't have, you know, I didn't have a container for my energy. I didn't have solid boundaries. And what would end up happening is, in our relationship is like we were started giving things back and forth. So like I might have a really good week and then he would feel really crappy, and then like that would affect me. And so it was like this cycle, like we couldn't get out of the loop, and we couldn't it was like we couldn't shake this energy. And it's because, you know, obviously I was struggling with energy boundaries at the time, and he was doing some energy work, but not to the extent that I've worked with energy. So this can happen, you know, in our relationship with kids, family, clients. With clients, what can happen is one of the most common things that I see when I'm working with my clients is they'll be really frustrated because their clients aren't taking responsibility or their clients aren't taking action steps. And usually it's because they're like energetically holding their client so closely. And, you know, the coach like has an energetic handout supporting their client, and their client already feels held, so they're not taking action. You know, they kind of feel like, oh, well, you know, subconsciously they're like wanting somebody to do it for them. This can also happen with Facebook groups. I struggled with this in my Facebook group. for a while, like especially when I first opened my group, I really had a hard time even wanting to have a group because I struggled with this. So what would happen is, you know, my energy was basically holding the people in my group. And then when I would put offers out, nobody wanted to buy my offers. And what I have learned is that if you have your energy with somebody, it can be challenging for them to want what you have to offer, right? Because they already feel like they have it. So that happens a lot of times with business, and it can also happen with relationships. I'm working with a client right now who she's going through a separation, and we kind of had this talk. She's been, even though she's going through a separation, she still has been like having her hand out on her ex, and so like he's not appreciating her or seeing her, or missing her, but it's like because her energy is still really present, you know. So this can affect us, and also we can then be pulled by wherever our energy is. So like if I'll just use my relationship for an example. So like if, you know, I was leaving some of my energy with James, and then he was having a really hard time, that could also pull me down. So even though I wasn't consciously aware, like I would start feeling that heaviness. And it could leave you feeling scattered. So like what would happen is like I was trying to move forward in my business, and then James would be having a hard time, and I felt like I couldn't move forward because it's like that his energy was, you know, pulling me down. And I actually used to tell him things like, I can't move it forward in my business because of you. I mean, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to tell him that. But, you know, now I can see it's like because I was leaving energy with him. And so it literally did feel like it was pulling me down, right? But like that was my choice because I have a choice over my energy. And so what I really want to say here is whether you have people's energy in your space or whether you're leaving your energy with someone, like none of you are victims. I'm not a victim. Like nobody is a victim. We all have a choice, and that's why this pattern is happening. So it's never the other person's thing. Like we always have a role in it if it's happening to us. So I just want to make that pretty clear. I actually saw a post on Facebook in one of the groups today, and somebody was like, she was basically like saying like energy vampires and like people taking advantage of you and like kind of victim-y. And that's really not the point of this. Like the point is empowerment. It's not about making other people wrong or like being the victim to other people. It's about, you know, learning how to manage your energy so that you can be more empowered at all times and in all areas of your life and situations, right? Because when you learn to manage your energy, it's not, you don't, like, I'm going to just use Walmart or the mall, right? Like, so I used to like not be able to go to Walmart because it was so overwhelming to me. So instead of me like not being able to go to Walmart, I can go to Walmart now because I can manage my energy. Or instead of saying I can't hang out with them because they're too negative, like I can hang out with whoever I want, you know, because I can manage my energy. So even though Joe Blow is negative, like I know how to manage my energy so that it doesn't affect me. And that is true empowerment. Not saying because somebody is XYZ, I can't be part of that, or I can't be by them, or I can't love them, or whatever. You know, it's being able to be in your space, and then that gives everyone the opportunity to be exactly where they are. And also, like, so I think Carrie Ann was asking about what I had wrote in the document. So there's a way that, like, if I have my energetic handout on James, there's a way that is affecting him, right? So like he might not make choices, because he feels like I'm controlling him, or he feels like, well, Lindsay's already holding it or doing it. If I pull my energetic hand back, that gives him the freedom to make choices for himself. So just how when we have other people's energy in our space, it's hard to fully have clarity of ourself. It's the same thing happens to other people. So if we're putting our energetic hand out to hold them, then they're not going to have clarity for themselves. I mean, they can. And again, this is still their choice too. Both people have responsibility in the situation. But yeah. So like if it's with your kids or whatnot, like when you pull your energy back, it's actually benefiting you and them. So just kind of like letting your ego self know that. Like this is, it benefits both people. So a few ways that I've seen this happen in business is, I think we might have talked about this a little bit earlier, but like if you're wanting to move forward, or I've even seen clients, sometimes they're wanting to call in clients so that they can make money. And they're having a really hard time doing it. And the reason is because they are already, their energy is already in other places, or they're already holding other things. So I'll just use myself for an example. So like when I was really, like I had my energetic hand out on my boyfriend, right? So there's a way that if I'm holding him, then it's like that's taking up space that I could actually call in a client. And so it can make it challenging. And sometimes we're like, why am I not attracting a client? I don't understand. I want to attract a client. It might be because your energy is like in multiple places. So any questions about that? We're going to do a meditation with this one as well. Okay, perfect. So we'll drop in and do the meditation. And I invite you to, yes, let's start with the simple things. There's a way that we can like want to dive in and do the heavy lifting, but like, again, we're like lifting weights. So the ones that are going to be closer to you, so like your children, your husband, your even parents, those are going to be harder to clear. So let's just start with the lighter, not so close things, and just to where you can start to strengthen your muscle. So I'll state that again specifically like in the meditation. So if you want to get comfortable wherever you are, and you can just imagine yourself sitting on the ground, on the earth, and just visualizing your bubble. Just taking a few deep breaths, settling in. And so what we're going to do is just start by noticing. And again, we're going to start with the lighter lifting. So any places where you might have some energetic hands out, or you might have energy scattered. So this could be like ideas in your business, it might be projects, So you can imagine these things lighting up outside of your bubble, just surrounding you. It could even be like things that you're wanting to do around the house, or a bill that's been nagging you, or maybe going to change your oil, just whatever comes forward. Just noticing them lighting up. And then you can imagine having a magnet either in your third eye, so your forehead, or your heart, whatever one feels better for you. If you're a person that is more prone to have a lot of thoughts and a lot of like mental worry or mental chatter, you might want to do it in your third eye. If you're more of a emotional, so getting your emotional strings pulled, then you might want to do your heart. So just imagine a magnet. And then what we're going to do is just call those energetic pieces home. So you can imagine like little fireflies, having them fly towards your magnet, just making their way back into your bubble, into your energy. And as this happens, you can just start to notice how you feel. And again, just calling the easy ones home first. And then you can notice if there's any that are feeling a little stagnant or feeling harder to call back. See if you can just notice, like getting a little bit closer and curious with them, like what is this? Might even be a business offer. It might be an offer that you're working on. And you can even imagine, like, what if there was like this energetic hand? Like if you could imagine the hand like grasping onto something. So if it's like holding on to your offer or holding on to maybe one of your children, just see if there's a way that you could explore, like, how could I loosen this? You might even play around with, like, can you let go and just pull your energy maybe a little bit back? So maybe like a foot or two back away from this thing. So instead of like pulling it all the way back home, like you're just letting go. And you can even notice, like, how is, especially if it's a person, you can notice like how is this person whenever I am holding them? Or my offer, like, what does that feel like when I am holding it? And then if you let go and just pull your energy back like a foot or two, just to experiment. You can notice like what happens. Noticing how you're feeling, but also just kind of seeing if you can tune into the other thing as well. Noticing if anything's changing with it. And you can see, like, can you pull your energy back a little bit more? So maybe another 6 inches. Or a little bit closer to you. Just noticing. Yeah, and most of you, I can see, are noticing like, oh, like nothing's even happening. It's staying the same. So you could see, okay, so can I just bring my energy back and see what happens? Yeah, and if you notice, so if there's like a piece in you that's a little bit anxious or afraid of what might happen, to see if there's any like words of wisdom or comfort that you can give that piece. So maybe it's just as simple as, I know you're scared and it's okay. It's okay. Or maybe it's just letting your system know too, like, okay, we've done it the other way for a while. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens if we try it this way. You know how to put your energetic hand out. So this is just trying something different. Just testing it. So just take a few more breaths, and you can even just kind of rinse out. So you brought this energy back, you can just kind of rinse out your energy with gold. Just noticing how you're feeling. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So this exercise is really great for if you're noticing yourself worrying about something, if you notice it feels like your energy is like pretty open, or if you feel like your thoughts are in a bunch of different places, this is a really great exercise to use. I also use this anytime I'm launching. I do this multiple times a day. So if I'm launching something and talking to a lot of different people, and like, people that are kind of like on the fence of like if they're wanting to do my class or not. This is a fabulous exercise to use for that. Also, just if you're promoting, right? So like you're posting in Facebook, sometimes we can get attached to like our posts that we're putting out. So it's like you can pull that energy back. So not leaving any like little, it's so funny, this fairy. I'll have to post the picture of it in the group, but it's coming to my mind right now. Like he's this, he's called the Dominus Gloom. He's kind of a pitiful fairy, but like when he has like all of this like little drippy stuff coming off of him, like slime that's kind of dripping. And when we leave our energy different places, it's sort of like that. It's like, okay, like, so you're dripping energy where you go. And so this really just helps you to like collect your energy and bring it back, so that you're not leaving like these little energetic trails wherever you're going. So it's great for that. And I have had so much results with this. If I am getting at a place where I feel like I'm launching something, or even in my group. So like if I notice like people in my group aren't showing up, so like I'm showing up, I'm doing the things, but like I don't feel like my posts are getting responses, or other people aren't showing up, I will pull back my energy. And like I've had within minutes, results start happening where it's like, okay, then I'm getting responses, or I've had people sign up, right? So if it was like this class or some of my other classes that I've launched, just from pulling back my energy, then it's allowed me to call in more sales. So it's powerful. So, you don't have to do the heavy lifting with it right now, with trying to like do the harder places, like your personal relationships and whatnot. You can just play around with it in the simpler areas, even just like pulling your energy back from Facebook posts or groups and that kind of stuff. So does anyone have any questions about this? And Carrie Ann, did I answer your question about your relationship?
Hi, it's Carrie Ann. Yeah, this is mind-blowingly awesome. It's amazing. Do you, like, where did you learn, like, how did you learn this, or is this from your own? It's just blowing my mind. It just seems so powerful. Like, I'm really excited about it. I know it's going to be a lot of work to do it, but it's just really making so many things clearer for me and making me feel like, it's going to make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, my tools come from an assortment of just basically my journey. So I kind of throw in my experience with, I was a dietitian, I was a mind body coach, I've done business. So just, I personally feel like, because I've had the biological background, and that's what I started with, is like really recognizing health. And I don't know, it's allowed me to understand things on a deeper level. So when I'm teaching, that's kind of all the things that I include, all the different layers.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Really, I've never heard anything quite like this before. It's really powerful. I'm so glad that I decided to take the class. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the idea to communicate and then let it go. Can you say a little bit more about that, Karen? Yeah, so if you're doing like a Facebook post or something like that, something that you feel attached to, or even emails or a video, yeah, like you can just call your energy back from that. And it it's basically, one of the principles to manifesting is putting something out and being unattached, right? So you want to put an intention out and not be attached to it. So calling our energy back helps the energy of whatever we're doing have more freedom. Okay, so like Facebook posts on a lighter level, separating ourselves since we have communicated and pulled back the energy. Like you said, worrying about a bill, but when you want us to incorporate that. So if it's a bill, like, okay, so say a bill or even like a client payment, if you have a client that their invoice is due and they're not paying it, like you can notice, like, okay, so is this something that I'm attached to? Do I have like this energetic attachment where I'm like attached to this situation? And then if so, you can work on pulling your energy back from that. And what it's going to do is it's going to free up that other energy to come to you. Yeah, so projects, bills, any of that stuff, you don't want to bring the project into your bubble. You want to pull your energy back from the project. So like the bill or the project or your offer, like you want to actually leave it where you're visualizing it externally, and you want to just pull your energy back from it. So the same thing with like Facebook posts. You want them to stay outside of you, but you're pulling your energy back to be inside of you. So then it's like, instead of having the dishwasher on and the clothes trying to be washed and trying to take a shower and not getting a lot of water pressure, you get full water pressure because all of your energy is in your bubble and you're at highest capacity. Yes, and then you're present where you are. And then even like if you are trying to get clear, so like if you're working on an offer and you haven't gotten clear on it and you don't know what you want to do, when we have our energy out and when we have other people's energy in our space, it can be really challenging to get that clarity. When we pull our energy back, that's when you're going to get the clarity, because you're going to be creating from you, from that deeper place in you versus, being scattered. So it goes back to like the green woman, that card that I had read at the beginning. Great questions. Anyone else have any questions? I know we're a little bit over, but go ahead.
Lindsay, it's Carrie Ann, if I could just ask one last question. So I'm just noticing, I know I have to build the muscles up to do this, but I'm just noticing like I must have a lot of energy out with a lot of people and a lot of different things, because I'm feeling like as I try to even practice with something small, although hold on a second. Okay, let's dry you up. Okay. I'm just noticing like a lot of discomfort, like even like this is painful to even start practicing with. I was just wondering if you could say anything about dealing with that. I'm going to mute myself again.
It's so funny now. My dog is about to bark. And that can happen totally when you have your energy out. things around you will start responding to your energy. Fascinating. So what I would say, so we talked about this last time a little bit, but if you're noticing it's really hard for you to pull your energy back, like you can connect people to their own gold column, and that can start to give you a little bit of ease. And also just getting really curious. So like we don't force ourselves to do anything that's feeling uncomfortable, but getting really curious about like, why is this so uncomfortable? What part of me is really uncomfortable with this? Because identifying that, there's a lot of wisdom there, and it's a lot of awareness as well, just getting to know your energy and how you operate. So, you don't always have to know all of the pieces, but if they're being really stagnant, or if you're noticing there's a lot of anxiety or fear coming up, then I would definitely just get curious about what is this. So you can journal about it or just kind of sit in the meditation with it. Anyone else have any questions? So we're going to have integration next week. So just giving everybody the opportunity to re-listen to anything, just to integrate all the tools that we've learned so far. And I'm going to be on retreat as well, so it works out perfectly. And then we'll be meeting again on May 15th. And I'll post that in the group as well, just so where everyone has it. So if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to post in the group or reach out, and I'm here to support you. And also, just as you start to practice and play with these tools, I'd love for you to share with us in the group, even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable to share. You're also helping everyone, because usually I'm sure there's going to be someone else that has a similar question or situation. So don't hesitate to share or ask questions. So I'm sending you all lots of love. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I'm looking forward to just continuing to support you and watch as all of this continues to unfold for you. Bye.